So it seems like China may be trying to get into the black market of the United States to try to sell cannabis.
Or 420 is a day for celebration for marijuana enthusiasts, I'm told. Right now, 20 states and the District of Columbia have fully legalized recreational pot, but that doesn't mean the black market is dead, and investors overseas are taking notice. My next guest writes in Politico, quote, Chinese investors, owners, and workers have emerged in recent years as a new source of funding and labor for illegal marijuana production. Let's bring in Natalie Ferdig. She's a federal cannabis policy reporter for Politico.
This is why we need uh, total legalization of cannabis and all other drugs so that we can do away with the black market by having regulated drugs that people can buy and afford. So, I mean, if you can go to the store and get some cannabis, why will people need to go to the black market?
So when did we start to see this boom in Chinese-funded marijuana farms?
Growing in the last few years. Oklahoma is currently the core of this growth that we're seeing, but it's also existed in small amounts in California and Oregon for potentially decades. There's a lot of questions, though, I want to be clear about where this is all coming from, about who exactly is involved in this, and about how far up the chain this goes in terms of, does the Chinese Communist Party actually know that this is happening or not?
And why go into the illegal part of the business since you could be legit?
Well, you actually have to be an Oklahoma resident in order to get a license in Oklahoma. So that may pose a problem for someone who is coming very recently from China, which could be happening. What's happening, though, in this country right now is that just over 20 states have legalized marijuana. That's not even half the country. But demand is increasing across the board, including in states where cannabis is not legal yet.
More than like 70% of the United States wants legalized cannabis. So why hasn't the government done it already and made cannabis illegal? It's just crazy. Um, the states that do make it legal make billions of dollars a year.
So there is still a demand for cannabis that the legal markets in legal states like California and Oklahoma cannot meet. And so there are people now producing cannabis illegally or unlicensed within the United States and selling it in those places where cannabis either is really expensive, like New York or New Jersey or Chicago. Those places have legalized marijuana, but it's very expensive, or selling it in places where it's still illegal, like North Carolina.
And what's the going theory or the multiple theories for why Chinese entities or interests would be getting in this business?
Still about that. When I've talked to law enforcement and to experts, they say that they want more answers and that they need the federal government to get involved in order to find those answers. Law enforcement that I talked to in California in particular said their jurisdiction only goes so far. And when they see money leave the country and go to China or go to another country that they think may head eventually to China, that's something that they can't follow, and that they need the DOJ to get involved and to work with them to trace that down. These could be mom and pop, small operations. These could be organized Chinese crime, which we know are akin to Mexican cartels and are doing a lot of the fentanyl trafficking around the world and things like that. And so the big question here that experts are telling me they want answered is, how involved are the triads, the organized crime? How much does the Chinese Communist Party know about these? And then why cannabis? Because it's not fentanyl. It's not it's just not as big of a deal as it maybe was 30 or 40 years ago, right? Cannabis is very legal in the United States now, in many states. So why now is the big question. There's questions about, is this money laundering? Is this a way for Chinese organized crime to shift money around in the United States, and cannabis isn't really the focus. Is it also, we've seen reports, I've reported on it, some other news organizations have reported on the human trafficking factor, which has shown up in multiple states, Oklahoma and California being two of those, at Chinese funded cannabis grows that are not licensed. And so is this trying to find somewhere to put workers? There's a lot of questions that need answered. And the real key here is going to be the federal government coming in and trying to help answer some of them.